calls a dyno is something called a container, and this is basically a visual representation on how Heroku kind of works under the hood. So Heroku has a bunch of computers somewhere like this, and on top of that they have an operating system like the ones that you have on your computers. You have like Mac, or those who have Linux, this is where it is. And then on top of that they have like a container orchestration software. In this case it's something called Docker. And then they have like a bunch of containers basically. And one of these is where your app is going to run. But you can treat one of these as just being your regular computer, the one that you're developing in. Cool. So once we go over like that kind of high level on how it's going to work, let's actually get down to business. So the first thing that we're going to do is, if you go into, okay, so we need to make some edits to our apps so that they work on Heroku. And one of the major edits that we have to do is have our backend serve our front end. So basically, we're going to merge the two apps, because so far we have been developing a front end and a backend separately, right? And those are two different apps. But Heroku only allows you to deploy one. So what we're going to do is we're going to merge Express, or I guess I shouldn't say merge, but we're going to have them working as one app. And for that, we're going to need to do some edits as well. Cool. So let's go to the fun stuff. So let's actually install the Heroku CLI. And for doing that, we're just going to go to the documentation. And there's good resources here that you might want to read after the class is over. Cool. So the Heroku CLI stands for Command Line Interface. And that just means a bunch of commands that we can type in terminal. So let's go on and install this. So if you have Brew, you could do this. I don't know if that's too small. So if you are using Brew, go ahead and install it. Install Heroku in this way. So Brew is like a package manager for Mac. So actually, you could also do it as well with npm. So Heroku is an npm module as well. So you could go with, let's go with this one because I feel like most people might get confused. So let's install this module called Heroku, and we're going to install it globally with this G flag.
Where are we installing it? Is it in a folder? Or?
That's a good question, because we have the G flag, means global. So it's not actually going to go, it's going to go like in your global npm node modules, which is, well, I can show you. So once you have installed it, let me put some zoom here. Let's put a little bit more. So you all haven't installed Heroku? Okay, let's see what mine is gonna say. In the documentation, it says that. Let's see. Let me see. No, that's like in general.
Oh,
like if there are other methods.
This is the first one, Barn. So this is the one that you just did.
Yeah, this is gonna work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this is. Should I use this one or what?
You could use that because you're on the link. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. So here I can see that mine was installed. I know that I already had it installed because I installed it like with the Ubuntu method. So to verify that we have it installed, you're gonna do which Heroku. And then you should see a path like this. Do you all see a path like this? Cool. Yours might look different, but it should give you a path. And then you could do like Heroku-v, and we should see the Heroku version that we have. Yes? So no, it doesn't matter here because we are installing with the global flag with this. So this means it's not going to go in any folder, or it's not going to go in any project. It's going to go on your node modules, because like if you see here, so you all have node installed, right, on your computers. And then that node has a node modules inside of it. And that's where this package is going to go. So you don't need to be in any specific folder for this to work. Node is gonna, npm knows where it's gonna put it. It's gonna put it in your node installation. So everyone knows that they have Heroku ready, right? Cool. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna deploy an app that I've been working on with some of you. And you can find it here. You could deploy, you could run the same steps, you could run them with your own app if that's what you want. And I think that will actually be recommended. If you have an app that doesn't have to be complete, but has a backend and a front end and they work, then we could edit that app to put it onto Heroku. And the steps are basically the same, as long as you understand like the what we're doing, and hopefully I'll be able to explain. You should be able to make these changes on your individual apps and still get it to work. Cool? Andres? I'm sorry? No. Oh, yeah. We actually had to create an account. So let's do that. Let's do that next. Go on to Heroku and click on sign up. We are in devcenter.heroku.com. This website, you could just type devcenter.heroku.com, and then that's going to take you to Heroku. And then we can click on, well, because I have so much Zoom, this is showing me like this, but yeah, this button. Let's sign up. I don't want to sign up because I already have an account, but you're going to fill out all this stuff. And yeah, let's try a list to all of us have a Heroku account. And then here in role, you can pick hobbyist. I don't think this actually matters. Well, and Heroku has plans. So like the hobbyist plan is for free. I know that. That's why I'm picking that one here. But I think it doesn't really matter. I think you will start with a hobbyist plan regardless, and then you can scale it. Then here you could type that. So let me know when everyone has an account. Yeah, or you could go to this one directly too. Good. Anyone else doesn't have an account yet? pursuit. It doesn't really matter. I'm not sure. Are you required to verify your email?
Yeah.
Okay, so do that. Who doesn't have an account yet? No? Andres?
How many free client? How many apps can we switch out in like a given day?
I'm sorry, could you say that?
With Heroku, right? You can only free client. You can only put like one project on.
No, you can put more than one. Yeah, as long as your app doesn't consume like all the space, or like.
Oh, so you can like a cloud space and then.
Yeah, and as long as your database doesn't have more than 10,000 rows, you're good. Yeah. Which, I mean, if your database has more than that, then your app is pretty successful, and then you could probably move on to a pay plan.
I was gonna ask, how many times can you put something or delete something or put something on again? But you said as long as.
Yeah. So like, who logged into their account? Oh, so in the Heroku dashboard, so here you will have something like this. For instance, I have 4 apps. You'll see once we have our first one, you will see them here, and then you see like this thing. They are sleeping. That's why it's free basically, because they're not running all the time. These apps are sleeping right now, and then if I try to open one, it's gonna take some time. And this is like. I mean, this is like a lot for free. Like a couple years back, if you wanted to deploy your app, well, like 10 years ago, like if you wanted to deploy your app, you literally needed like a server, a computer where you'll connect it to the internet and configure it for that server to like serve your app. And now it's as simple as just like typing a couple of commands in the terminal, and then that computer is somewhere else that you don't have to worry about. And yeah, it's almost like I mean, I was not around here when you had to deploy your own server, but I can imagine people who had to do that now see something like as easy as this, and they must be pretty impressed. Cool, so everyone has their account. Now let's log in onto Heroku. So from the terminal, you could do Heroku login. And then it says press any key to open the browser, and then these things opens up. Now you click on login, and then that's it. Now I am logged in here. You see on my terminal. So login is done, and then I'm logged in as this person. Does everybody sees this? So I did Heroku login. That opened a new terminal, a new tab in my browser, and then in that tab, if you didn't save your password, you have to type your username and password and log in. Once you click login, that tab is done. You can close it, and when you go back to your terminal, you should see something like this. Login is done, logged in as. Cool. So Heroku CLI is another way of talking to Heroku. Basically, you could use the dashboard like here, where you could also do everything from the CLI. So for instance, if I want to check out how many apps I have, I could do Heroku apps. And I see the same apps that I'm seeing in the dashboard. So most of the stuff that you can do in the CLI, you could do in the dashboard as well. They're just two different interfaces. But we're developers, and we may want to script our backend or like our Heroku setup, and then the CLI is good for that. It doesn't have to click buttons. You could just write a script that does it for you. But we're not going to get into that now. Cool. So you'll have logged into Heroku. Oh, another thing that I wanted to mention is you don't need to memorize all these commands. As long as you know one, Heroku, you could do, oftentimes they have a -h, and that's help, and then it gives you this. So I'm going to type this to another program that's called less so that you can see it. And then I get this. This is the Heroku manual, basically. And I can see all the commands. So like the one I type, apps, it says manage apps on Heroku. Let's look at another one that we did, logging. But this one actually is not here. Okay, that's not very good, but yeah, logging is not here, which is bad on Heroku side because they should document all their commands. Cool, but yeah, like if you feel adventurous, just read this and then you will know it's kind of stuff that you can do with the Heroku CLI. Okay. Oh, like we're gonna use one that's called create. It's not here either. So let's do, well, another thing is Heroku, you could do Heroku create. Some allow you to do this, H. Okay, this is not allowed. Let me try this one. Cool. So we don't have those documents, but let's do, so if we don't have those, Google has those. Here we can see, for instance, this one. This is what we're going to do. Heroku, create, and then the name of our app. So let's run that. And for doing this command, we're going to do Heroku create. We're not going to give our app a name because, well, if I call my app, I'm probably going to say that that name is already taken. So let's do, unless your app has a pretty unique name, which I think most of you actually have, like a pretty unique name, that you could give it the same name as your app, actually. Like, I don't want to create one with a unique name, but like, you could do Heroku create and then the name of your app. But we want to run this command inside our app, and that's because a couple of things. So let me go to actually let me clone this app that I've been working on. So this is the app that I'm going to deploy. I'm going to clone this app. If you want, let's try to run it with your own app. So go into your apps. I'm just going to clone this one here really quickly. Oh, now I'm going to go into my app, which is called React User Auth. And then I'm here. So let me show you my Git setup a little bit, and I'm going to show you my remotes. And so the way that you've been doing, like using Git and GitHub, is that you have I don't know where to do this. Or actually, like the way that we're going to deploy our apps, or the way that we're going to ship our app to Heroku is very much the same, but with, in the same way in which we're shipping our apps to GitHub. So basically what you have now is, this is your local machine, right? And then here we have GitHub. And this is the cloud. This is, so here we will call this local repo. And then the way you're doing this is called a remote. So your local repo, you connected it to a remote in GitHub, and that's when you do git push origin master, you're actually pushing your code from your local repo out to GitHub. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have another one called Heroku. And we're going to push our code from our local repo to Heroku. Cool. Any questions about this? Like, you don't need to really get it. As long as you have this kind of mental picture, you get it. Cool.
So, like you could push multiple versions to Heroku, like something you could have.
Yeah, exactly. You can have branches. So these remotes have branches on their own. You oftentimes want them to be on sync. Like the branch that you have in your remote, you have in your local, or vice versa. Just because that's more organized, and you can get lost with, oh, like where is the branch coming from? Is it a remote? Is it a local? So most of the time, you want to keep in sync. Cool. So now I'm going to show you my remotes. You could list your remotes with git remote -v. And then you see this URL. This is GitHub's URL. And then you see this name, origin. This is when you say git push origin is this, and master is push to the origin, which is at this URL, and the master branch at that origin. Cool? So now I'm going to do Heroku create. I encourage you to do this too once you're in your apps, and then we're going to see what happens. Cool. So we have this output, and it says create an app, done. The name that Heroku gave my app is called the Infinite Brook. And then it says, it gives me a URL. You see this URL? This is where the URL where my app is going to run. I can open that. And it's not going to, we don't have anything yet. So, but this is the URL where my app is going to run once we deploy it. We haven't deployed yet. Cool. So now I wanted to show you my remotes first because Heroku create gives you that other remote that I was talking about. And if I do git remote -v again, I see two remotes. I see origin and Heroku. So this is why running Heroku create is important, that you do it inside your app. You can still get it to work if you didn't do it that way. It's a little bit more manual work. It's like one more command that you have to tell your Git to add your remote. Andres, do you have a question?
You did Heroku create in the name of your app, and you did Heroku create again. So like a little further up, you did Heroku create and then the name of what you wanted the app to be, and then you cloned it. You just did Heroku.
I only ran Heroku create once. I never ran it twice. Is that what you're saying?
Okay. See how up on the top it says name my app is already taken, and then one up above that. Heroku create.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Here I tried to create an app, but I knew that this is like a pretty common name, and I knew that it was gonna fail. That name is taken because the Heroku app's name, they have to be like universally unique. So if somebody else has the same name of your app and you try to name that your Heroku app, it's gonna fail with this error. So I knew that this was gonna fail. So this didn't create an app, but this did. Yes. Yes, your root. We want to do this in your root of your app. Cool. Yeah, so like try to do Heroku create and then your name of here. Try to do that, and then if that name is available, then Heroku will be good. I think you cannot rename it after you have created it.
It's like,
But you could always delete that and create a new one. It's like that shit.
so it's kind of like,
Yeah, it's like because it's using the URL in the URL that they gave me. That name you see Infinite Brook, and then these numbers.
so that's
So this name has to be unique because it has to be unique for the internet. Kelly?
So you don't have to, it's already received to use our project.
Yes, I cloned my app. Yeah. Exactly.
And when we don't put a name in.
Yeah, when you don't put a name, it creates a name for you. So everyone has 2 remotes in their Git, in their local Git.
Should one of those links link to our project? Should we see our project?
What do you mean by that?
You said one of the links is where our project would be. Which one of those links?
It's gonna be this link. This one is the address, the internet address that our app is gonna be available at. And then this is a Git repository, a remote Git repository that lives in Heroku servers. And this is what we're gonna be pushing to. So now you're gonna push to, now you wanna make sure you wanna push to GitHub, but also you wanna push to Heroku once you make apps to your changes and you want those changes to be seen by the world.
break it up.
Yeah, if you want to.
What happens if I haven't been updating my GitHub account?
That's gonna be, well, you don't want to do that, right? Because then you're like the stuff that you have in production, which will be Heroku, is gonna be more up to date than your GitHub. And in some cases you might want to do that, but it might give you merging conflicts once you try to combine both. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, okay. So in that case, it's gonna be a little bit tricky because you need to remove your remote. And I don't know if you could do Heroku remove. Let's try. Like if you did it wrong, let's try this. I don't know if this is gonna work. Remove is not a remote command. Did you mean leave? No. Okay. So yeah, I think like if you experience problems, I think it will be better if you just pay attention and as to what's going on, because it's more important for you to like understand the approach than to actually like write it. Cool. So now we have our remote. We verified that with this command git remote v. So now our local Git is connected to that. And then let's think about, well, let's push our app the way that it is right now. I'm gonna push my app to Heroku, and we're gonna see what's gonna happen. Cool. So the same way you push to GitHub, I'm gonna do git push, but I'm not gonna do origin. I'm gonna do Heroku because this is my remote, and I can do master. Now that's gonna push my code to Heroku, and I see this good error message. No default language could be detected for this app. Hint, this occurs when Heroku cannot detect build path to use for your application automatically. Cool. npm install. Okay, we're gonna get to that. So we tried to push our app the way it was and it didn't work. So actually, let me show you my app structure. I have these two folders, backend and frontend, and I'm in the folder React user auth example. You might have the backend, and inside the backend, your frontend, like server and client. That's still fine. If you had it like that, then this previous command that I ran might have succeeded, the git push Heroku master, because I guess let's go into, so this part, Heroku doesn't know what kind of app I'm trying to deploy. So we need a way to tell Heroku that we're going to deploy a Node app so that it knows how to run it. And we do that by having a package JSON in our root. So if you have the server client approach, which is inside the server folder, a client folder, you already have a package JSON in your root, which is the, let me just draw it out here. So there's like two approaches. I guess let's do a census. Who's doing front end and back end folders? Okay, that's most of you. And who's doing client server? That's still a good approach. Nobody's doing client server? Like, okay. Cool, so. Yes. Cool, okay. So, yes. Yeah, that's the only difference. And the fact that, well, like if we have client server, it's gonna be a little bit easier to deploy to Heroku, just because that they are already like kind of one app, one lives inside the other. But that's not a problem to connect them. Like it's not a big deal to connect them. So basically, we have like these are root, then we have front end and back end. Right, and then my root is called React user auth. So, cool. So what we need to do is in here have a package JSON. Package JSON. I don't know if this is big enough. But in your root, you're going to need a package JSON. And when Heroku sees that package JSON, it's going to know, oh, this is a Node app, because only Node apps have package JSONs. Like Ruby apps have a gem file, I think that is called. And then if he sees a gem file, then he knows that it's a Ruby app, and he's going to know how to run it. Oh. Yes. So for our package JSON, what we could create one doing npm init /, yes, // yes. This is going to create a package JSON. Yeah, we're going to get to that. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have a package JSON in your root like this, then run this command. This is going to create one empty package JSON. So I'm just going to run that. And then boom, I get my package JSON. So I'm gonna open my editor. And then I see my two folders. I have a git ignore, I have a package JSON. This package JSON is very simple. It has just the name and all this stuff. And here we're gonna get to test two scripts. And here's where we're going to see some of the. So Heroku knows that you're trying to deploy a Node app if you have a package JSON, but it doesn't know what command to run your app. And you have to, before actually even asking Heroku to run one of your JavaScript programs or like the entry point for your server, you need to ask Heroku to install the dependencies of that of your app, basically. So for doing that, this is what we're gonna do here. So here I'm gonna change this to the start. And for those of you who maybe haven't realized, like when you do npm start, what you're doing is you're running the start command inside your package.json. Cool. So start is gonna do. Okay. Okay. So what do I want to run my app? If I want to run the backend from here, what's the command that we are using for running our backend? npm start. Yeah. So okay. So remember that we're gonna have our backend serve our front end. So we're just gonna do npm start in the backend, and that's gonna do that's gonna serve our React app. But we have to first build our React app. So hopefully I don't lose you here, because this one is gonna be like a little bit of a stretch on like the commands that we're gonna run. If anyone has any question at any point, just feel free to raise your hand. So imagine I'm here. I'm in the root of my app. If I wanted to run my backend, what would I do? Like some of you said npm start. If I do it here, let's say this. Okay, so I'm not gonna cd. I could cd, but I'm not gonna cd. I'm just gonna do npm backend. Oh, my terminal is. Let me change to my like original. This one. npm backend. And then what? Actually, let's not guess. Let's go to the backend. Let's see. I'm sorry. Say that again.
We're trying to start the backend.
Yes. That's good. And where do we get that from? If we go to the backend, we have a package.json inside the backend, and then here we can see the command that's running the backend. So when you do npm start in your backend, you're running node-mon, and you're executing this file /bin/www, which is bin www. You might have another one, because let's say you develop your backend from scratch without using Express Generator. So you might have a different command here. So verify whatever command you're running in your backend package.json for the start script. Cool. So here, like, let me just show you that if I could do. Well, okay, let's do it. We're not going to use npm start. We're going to use like. Let me try to run like with the same command. This might actually fail, but I'm going to try to do node-mon. Now backend bin www. So it says the node-mon command not found. Yours may succeed. Mine, I don't have like node-mon installed globally, and that's why it doesn't pick it up here. But when I do npm start, like if I were to do to the backend and npm start. Oh, well, it's good that we came here, because I don't have my node modules. If you remember, I cloned the app, but I never install my node modules, either in the front or the back. So let's do that. npm. Sorry. This is installing the node modules in the backend. Now I'm going to go back to the front end. I'm going to do the same. And we're going to get to how are we going to install our node modules in Heroku. But cool. So let's. npm init -- yes. Okay. So let me try that one more time. Just the node-mon that I tried. Yeah, still said command not found, even though I install my node modules. But this is like a detail that you don't really need to know. But so I know that I also can run my app with Node. So if I do Node, if instead of node-mon I do Node, Now my backend should run. And in fact, my backend is running, but because I'm not running it with node mode, I don't see anything happening here. But I could go to like localhost, I think it's 3100, and I get this. I get a response from my backend, right? So this was all to say that we're gonna do in our root package.json, which is this one. And this package.json is gonna be, remember, this package.json is for Heroku to know what kind of app you're deploying, and for Heroku to know how to run your app. Cool? So in here, I'm gonna do, in the start, I'm just gonna type the command that I typed into my terminal, which was node backend bin. I don't know.
I want to use node mod instead, so it would be like on, and what's the server? How it's-
We're gonna get to that, yeah, like right after this. So you don't want to use node mode in production because, well, node mode is for development basically. And node mode we should have node mode. Like node mode is not a dependency for our app. It's a dev dependency. It's a dependency for developing our apps. But our app can work without node mode. Cool. So in production, we're just gonna run with bare node, and then we're gonna do node backend bin www. So now, because I did this, if I go to my terminal and then I'm in the root, right? Let's verify that. Now that I'm here, I could do npm start. And this, you can see that it's going to run this command, node with backend bin www. So I can go check if my backend is running, and it is, right? So basically, this is the command. This is the command that Heroku is going to run to launch your app. And it's going to run your backend. Okay. Now, let's think about Heroku needs to install your dependencies in the Heroku's machine because, well, they are needed for your app to run, right? For that, Heroku provides special scripts that we can write here to indicate what to do after or before it runs our app, or it builds our app more explicitly. So let's go to the documents, and I'm going to show you here. Heroku build. So here also, like, I think this document is linked in the show notes, and like the show notes in the lecture notes. So let's see here, and I know that it's always good if you read this, you'll have a better understanding of what's going on. So here, let's look at some of this stuff. So the build behavior, yeah. This one, customizing the build process. So if your app has a build step that you like to run when you deploy, you can use Heroku post build script in package.json. So we can see here, our start. It looks very much to the same as this one that they have here. They have start, and then their node, and they're invoking this file index.js. And then the Heroku post build, we're gonna use. In this case, like they are installing something with Bower and Grunt. They're doing something with Grunt. What we want to do is run our npm install for the back and the front. So yeah, we could use this pre-build or post-build. And maybe a side note here. Well, nobody is actually using the client server, so actually I think I'm not going to go into that. Cool. So let's go to here, and we're gonna do. It doesn't really matter if you use pre-build or post-build. So I'm just gonna do Heroku pre-build. Actually, let's just do post build because that's the one that we have in the lecture now. Heroku post build. So this is the script that's going to run after Heroku knows what kind of app I'm trying to deploy. And then what do we want to run? We want to run npm. No, actually go to the backend. So cd to the backend. And once it's there, I'm doing that with these two ampersands. Once it's in the backend, do npm install in the backend. And we're going to get to, once it installs the stuff in the backend, we want to install the packages in the front end. So we're going to do and cd one level back. Now we're at a root again, and go down into the front end folder. This is going to front end. And once it's in the front end folder, do npm install. Yeah. Yes. So is this confusing, this line? You can say yes.
Rebuild and post build.
So I think it's a technical difference that is not worth going on in here. So your Heroku is going to try to, if you have in these packages and if you have node dependencies here, Heroku is going to try to install those automatically without you needing to do npm install the way that we're doing here. So because we don't have anything in our root that is like an app, and we don't have like dependencies in this package.json, it doesn't really matter. Renat?
So you have some of the JSON files, but
Yes.
run it
Mm-hmm.
and make this one specially, so you just
Yes, exactly.
edit npm.
Yes. This one is for, oops. This one is for Heroku especially.
That in the root of the.
Yes, you can see it here. Not here, here. Cool. Okay, so we did these edits to our app. Let's try to run Heroku and see what happens. Here? It's not really necessary. Yeah, you could, either way is going to work. But let's see what we get. I'm going to kill this, clean, and then we're going to do, so I made changes. So if I do git status, I see the changes that I made. And I need to commit these changes so that I can push them to Heroku, and Heroku can see my package.json. So I'm just going to git add everything, even though it's just one file. And I always like to make sure by running git status again, I see that my file was added. I'm going to commit. Let's do package. Oh, that doesn't matter. That doesn't need. Let's do deploy commit prep. Actually, or deployment prep, because we're going to need more than one step. Oh, so I committed my changes locally. These changes are not in GitHub yet, and they're not in Heroku yet. What do I need to send those to the cloud? Yes. Renat?
What are you committing it for now? Is it the Heroku Git?
So I'm committing it to my local Git. So I was explaining earlier that you have a local Git repo, that computer, and you have two remotes. So my local changes, and this is like, some of you have now been like pushing to GitHub. You want to push to GitHub because if your computer catches fire, you want your code to be safely on somebody else's computer, which is GitHub. I did git add. I did git add first, then I did git status to see, and then I did git commit. To which local repo?
Yeah.
So I am here in a local repo. Like, how do you know if you're in a repo? Yeah, git status, git remote. No, not git remote, but if you do git status and you see this on branch master, your branch is ahead of origin master. Oh, this is actually pretty useful. Saying my branch is ahead of origin master. I have a commit in my local git that origin master doesn't have. And origin master is Heroku. No, sorry, the GitHub. So this is saying, yes. Yes, it's gonna push to my GitHub. Xavier?
Yeah, just real quick, just to like go back on that point of pushing your code to GitHub, like you should always add your code to GitHub. Like if you do like 2-3 hours of coding, you should just add that to GitHub. Even if it's an hour, just add it, because trust me, last year I lost 3 months of work because I didn't add it to GitHub. So don't be me, don't repeat my mistake, and yeah, always add your code to GitHub. Even if it's a little bit, just like add it.
Yeah, and I had like a similar experience where my computer fell off the table, my hard drive was damaged, and because I had pushed to GitHub, I could just get back to work. Just replace the hard drive and back. Cool. So this is telling me that my local git is ahead of origin master. So let's just push git push origin master. With this, we're pushing to Heroku, not to Heroku, to GitHub first. Let's push that to GitHub. Oh, this is because I didn't clone with the right permission. So I just push that to Heroku. And that's all good. Now if I do git status, it says your branch is up to date with origin master, but it doesn't say anything about Heroku master. That's because origin master is like the most important one. Cool, so now we have that. Now let's push to Heroku. Git push Heroku master. And let's see what happens. So you see this thing, I don't know if you remember, but before it said that it failed, and now it's saying all this other stuff. Look, it's saying, let's let it finish, and then I'm gonna go over like what's saying. You got rejected? Why?
Because rejected. Fetch first, failed to push from left to GitHub. Update
to GitHub?
Yeah, updates were rejected because the remote contains work that you do but not have local.
Mm-hmm. That means that you somehow edited your origin master, which is your GitHub, and you don't have those changes in your local. So that's saying like whatever is in GitHub has more stuff or has different stuff than the one that you have in your local. That's like a syncing problem that maybe you edited a file directly in GitHub. And then if you did that and then you didn't pull those changes from GitHub to your local, that gives you problems.
You git origin view.
Git remote view.
You set those up in Heroku, those are the first two, right?
Yeah, these are the Heroku remotes. Cool, so let's see what this says here. This is like the pushing, and then it says this line starting with remote, then it says building source. You see it says Node.js app detected. This is because we have a package JSON in a root. Then it's configuring the environment. We're gonna get into this a little bit. And it's saying installing binaries. Like we're gonna, well, we don't need to go into this, but basically here is installing Node and it's installing npm, and this is installing Node and npm is installing those in the container that I was talking about earlier, that you get like a computer, and we could see some stuff there. So yeah, it's saying that it's installing Node, it's building dependencies, and then it's installing this part is not installing Node modules. But in this package.json, the root package.json, we don't have any dependencies. So that step didn't really do anything because there's no dependencies. But after that, it says running Heroku plus build. This is the command that we specify here. And then if you see here, you can see what it's doing. It's cding into the backend, and it's doing npm install there. And then it's cding back one level with the 2 dots and going down to the front end. And once it's in the front end, it's doing npm install in the front end. This app is still not going to work because we have to make some edits. But I just wanted to show you that basically the build succeeded. And this might be, well, yes, the build succeeded, but the build is not set up yet to work completely. This is just saying, okay, I received your app, everything seems fine, I should be able to run it. So let's check this URL that it gave me here. So if you want to open your URL without having to copy and paste, you could do Heroku open. And this is going to open a new tab with your app. And we see this error. And you're going to see a lot of errors, but that's okay. So our app says that it built successfully, but we still see this error. And then we can see the Heroku logs with this command, Heroku logs tail and red.
Did you see an error?
Some might not see the error. Are you not?
I see the backend.
Cool. So that's one example that you could actually see the backend running in this URL. Who else is seeing their backend running? No, not the local host. This is not local host. Who went to the URL and saw the response from the backend? I think I know why mine is failing. I mean, if we inspect the logs, we will know why it's failing. Okay, but let's do. So, who's following along? Okay, that's. Oh, no, I care more about like you paying attention than yeah. Okay, so and yes, Isa. Yes. So we first needed to git commit our local changes. So the first thing I did was git commit. Oh, didn't do that. All right. I did a git commit because I made some changes to the package.json. I commit those changes. Well, I add them first. I git add, I git commit, and I git push origin master, which is pushing to Heroku. And then after I have pushed to Heroku, not Heroku, GitHub, I can push to Heroku. And I push to Heroku with git push Heroku master. Like if I try to push again, it's saying everything is up to date because I haven't made any changes. Okay. So I push, like I deploy my backend to Heroku, and then it said that it succeeded, but I go here and I see this error. So let's run this and see what happens. Heroku logs / tail. These are the logs for your backend running on Heroku. So we can see like it ran node backend / bin / ww, and then it threw a warning saying connect session memory is not designed for a production environment. We can ignore that one. He said state change from storing to crash, Let me run this again so that it's not like all broken down. State change starting from crash, error, R10 would timeout, web process failed to bind to port within 60 seconds of launch, stopping process with sig kill. So this is kind of a cryptic error, but this is the main problem here. So the way that we're doing it is we are running our apps on port 3100 or whatever port you decided. But Heroku needs to run on their port because you don't know what port are you going to use. So, but in any case, you want your app to work with the Heroku, to work with whatever port Heroku is going to use. So if you didn't see this error, is because you already have something in /bin/ww that's taking care of grabbing the right port. I do not have that. Okay, but so let's see how this turns out. But I want to show you. You remember that I said that Heroku basically gives you a chunk of a computer for you to deploy your app, and you could actually see that with Heroku run bash. With this, Heroku is pinning a dyno or a container, or you can think of like a computer for you, and then I'm gonna connect to that computer. And
like the remote terminal.
Yes, this is like a remote session basically. And then here you see that my prompt changed. Now it says just that instead. Before it said Alejandro localhost. And then I could like, actually let me kill this. Let me do exit before we. So I'm exiting that computer that Heroku gave me, that container. And I'm gonna type who am I in my terminal. And it says, I'm Alejandro. So you could do that, and then it's going to tell you who you are, like the user that you logged in as. And I'm going to do Heroku run bash, and I'm going to type who am I in that computer. And then so what this is doing is spinning a dyno with whatever you have in whatever you push to Heroku, basically. And then this is going to be, it could be useful for debugging your apps when you have problems. But I just wanted to like kind of give you that sense that you like literally have a computer, like you're pushing your code to another computer, and that computer is going to run it. So cool. So now I'm connected to that dyno that Heroku gave me, and I type who am I, and I see that I'm U6113. I'm this user for Heroku. And then I can do ls, and I see my app. I see this is what I push, basically. And then I could like inspect my package if I want to. Or I could do like literally anything here. This is the computer that Heroku gives you to run your app in. I could, yeah, like, I don't have like a real example, but let's imagine you're not sure if why your package.json is failing to start your app. You could come here and like actually debug it. I could do like I could start my app manually, npm start. Then I see this, and I think my app. Well, in this case, my app is running, and it's not failing because right here my app will be running on like the port that I set it to run to. But once this dyno is spinning on its own, it needs to know a port to serve it to. But yeah, here you can come and see what you push to Heroku basically. And yeah, you can see that you have commands like ls, you can commands like cat, and all those. Cool. So after that, I'm just gonna exit from here. And next, we're gonna see why. So we have this error. Oh, no, not that. Oh, and look at this. Also says, yep.
So once we run bash, that is running on a certain port on the local rig. Essentially, when we go back in on that port, not the port, 3100 or whatever it is, it might pass it up. So it is.
Could you repeat that a little bit louder?
You do run bash.
Mm-hmm.
That opens a connection on the Heroku running with certain port.
Yes.
Right? So you're back in now, which is 3100.
Mm-hmm.
That needs to reflect Heroku's.
Yeah, Heroku's port. Yes.
So we have to change it, like we have a proxy, locals, our backend, and our front end is like local.
Exactly. And let's see. Actually, let me show you that. That's like a good way. Let's see what port is Heroku gonna use, and I can show you that because. Oh, actually, this is gonna. Let me open another one. Heroku logs. And then here somewhere we should see. Oh, well, no, I need the build logs. In the build logs, we said something like Heroku was preparing the environment for my app. So what Heroku is going to do is it's going to set an environment variable with the port that my app should run on. So here I'm in the bash in Heroku, and then I could do, you could type here print env, and this is going to print all your environment variables. And then this is environment variables that are running on this the Heroku's dyno, basically. And from here, we see a couple of good ones. Node env production, node home. We see this is the memory that my app is allowed to consume, 512, I think that's megabytes. If my app ever exceeds that, then I'm gonna start. I'm gonna get like my app is either gonna crash or it's gonna be just really slow, and Heroku is gonna send me and say, "Oh, you want to upgrade?" Yes, Rina. No, this doesn't include like your bandwidth. No, this is.
What I mean is, your app, you're able to get
Mm-hmm.
So does that include the amount of the whole data, like everybody?
So that one, I said earlier that Heroku is not going to charge you if you have less than 10,000 rows on your database. So that data is going to go in your database, in your tables, and as long as you don't have more than 10,000, Heroku gives you that space for free. Yeah. Yeah.
How does that go with it?
We're gonna see all that. Hopefully, we have time. I think I might be going off the branches. But anyway, here I wanted to show you. This is the environment variables, and here we have a port. This is the port that we need to set up our app to run on. And this port, that's why they put it in an environment variable, because this port, like Heroku might decide to change this at any time, and it shouldn't break our app. So what we're gonna do is have our app read this port, if it's not doing that already, read it from the environment and use that instead of our hard-coded 3100 or whatever. Yes, exactly. We're gonna access this variable from our JavaScript program or our JavaScript. Yeah. Okay. So let's do that. Cool. And if I go back, let me just show you that print env or env. This is my environment in my computer. This is the one that I had in Heroku. Like the Heroku is not a full-fledged computer, but it's something really close to that, and it's quite powerful. But my local machine, I have like more stuff. That any program that I run is gonna run under this environment variables, and they could access them. Okay, so let's fix that problem. So wait, let's see the error again, just to Heroku logs tail. So you see, this is when I was running bash. This is those, they appear here. But here we see this one. Web process failed to bind to port. And you see this is like a hint. Anything that starts with a $ is referring to an environment variable. And environment variables, by convention, they are all capital. Cool, so basically, I'm sorry? Environment variables.
Variables in the environment are all capitals.
Yes, by convention, they're all capital. Cool, so let's grab this variable from our Heroku environment and put it in our app. Let's go through my app. I'm gonna search in my app by 3100 because I know that's the number I use. And I can see 2 matches. One in package.json and the other in www. This is the one that I care about. And here, I see that's line 15. You may have this in another line, in another file. But here, what I need to do is, okay, first try to grab something from the environment. And if it doesn't find the port in the environment, then use my hard-coded 3100. And we do that with process.env.port. Or that. This is going to make sure that it tries to find something in the environment that's called port. And if it doesn't find it, then just run with my regular 3100. Yes?
Assuming it wasn't already there.
Some of you might have it, some of you might not have it. If you are having something like this somewhere in your code, you don't need to do this step because Express Generator did it for you. Yeah.
What is process? Process is like.
Process is just an object, a global object that gives you access to the environment and gives you access to a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, the process is a global variable. The way console log is a global, like console.
Oh, method.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is just a global object that has an env property that has port. And then with this, you can get to any environment variable. Cool. So once you have this, let's commit our changes. Git status. I see my changes, right? I'm gonna git add everything. Git status has been added. I'm gonna git commit. And I'm gonna say port fix. Or Heroku port fix. I'm gonna commit with this message. It's done. I want to push to GitHub first, origin master. Oh, this is going to be painful. You want to make sure that, yeah, commit always, unless you feel really comfortable with Git, always commit to GitHub first and then to Heroku. Git commit. Commit is with 1 M or 2 M's? Okay, thank you. No, not commit again. I need to do push Heroku master. Now the process repeats. I'm seeing the building, creating runtime environment. This is the environment that we've been talking about. You see the variable here, node env equal production. We don't see the port because that one is like, that one is not set up like, it's not really necessary for the node. Well, it is necessary for our app, but it doesn't need to be shown here because most apps you just assume that you're going to grab the port from the environment. So now the process is repeating. Now, what I think is going to happen is I should have something very similar to what Andres has, which if I go to that URL, I see my backend. Cool. It's about to finish. Cool. Heroku open. Yeah, well, do you mean debugging the backend? Yeah, we're not in the backend, in the front end yet. So you see now, my app works. Like I could do is logged in. This is my backend, but I don't want to display, like I don't want users to see my backend. I want users to see my React app. Cool. So my app is running. I don't get any errors if I do Heroku logs tail. This tail is just so it shows me the last ones. I see like this is because I'm doing Morgan, the logger. I see like the request that I've sent. Here I should see, oh, I have this error like not found. You can ignore that for now, but we should see the ones that I did, like it's logged in. You see my request here? This is the request that I made. So it's logged in. I have like that not found. We should get rid of it, but I think we have time. This is like the initial request. Cool. So instead of having our backend just being our backend, we want our backend to serve our React app. For that, we need to go onto our backend, and we're gonna change a couple of stuff here. Let me close this. Oh no. Now, let's go to my backend. Let's see this is my like entry point, right? Actually, we're not gonna change anything here. We're gonna go to our app, and then we need to ask our backend to serve a React app. For doing that, we first need to build our React app. And building a React app, what it's gonna do is gonna compile all that React code, and it's gonna output it into just plain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I think we should do that locally first, just so that we can get a better understanding of how it's working. So basically, what I'm gonna do is actually, let me show you the build process for your React app. So for building your React app, you're gonna do something like, I did some changes to my package.json. Let me get rid of those. Okay, so I'm gonna go to my front end, and I'm gonna build my React app or compile it so that it's just plain HTML and CSS and JavaScript. So far, we have never done this before, right? Okay. No, it's not gonna mess your project. So for doing that, let's inspect our package.json for the front end before we do anything. Package.json for the front end, it has these scripts: the start script, the build, the test, the eject. But this one is the one that we're really interested in, the build. So it's gonna call something called React scripts, and it's gonna invoke this build thing into it. So let's just do that, because this React build is like, it's a special one, or like not special, but no, start is special. Start, you just do npm start, and then it runs that one. But build is like not built in. So for running the build command, what we need to do is, oh, I changed something again. What we need to do is, in our front end, we're gonna do npm run build. This is gonna run the build script in our package.json. So what this is gonna do is gonna build our React app, and then we can see what it's doing. It's calling React scripts, which is a package, a node package that we installed, and it's calling it with build, the build argument. And then it says create an optimized production build, and we get this. So first to note here is we get a folder called build, and inside that we have like this JS file, this other JS, CSS. But basically this is our app. Once you build it, it looks like this. And if you, cool, so we could do, let's see. Well, so you see this like three things here. It's telling me that there are changes on my Git that I haven't committed. So if I do git status, I see that there is a new folder called build. Let's inspect that. This is how I open my file explorer. And then here we have this build folder that we didn't have before. I'm gonna double click that, and then this is my React app once it's compiled. So this, I cannot just open this file because this is not gonna work. But basically this index.html, that's our entry point for our app. And what we need to do is have Express serve this HTML file, or rather serve this entire folder. Cool. So this is, again, this is what your app looks like. If you go to the JS and try to open one of these, you're gonna see something very pretty. Oh.
I want to ask about like Webpack.
Yeah, this is what your app looks like. I'm sorry? No, this is after Webpack. Webpack is the one that's doing all this and transforming our code so that it looks like this. And this is kind of sad, but it's made like for security. But you see like password. I'm using password somewhere, like as a placeholder. So yeah, this is my compiled code, and this is code that any browser can run now, thanks to Webpack and Babel. That's compiling the code for being compatible with other stuff, with other browser. Okay, so now we have this folder build in our front end as a brand new one. Now let's set up our backend so that our backend serves that folder instead of just like the bare. Cool, so we do that with a couple of lines that we need to add to our app.js. So you see where we set out like this middleware. It doesn't really matter where you do these steps, as long as you do like before you're routing. Definitely you should do that. So let's look at this line 33. This line is very similar to what we're gonna do. So if you didn't realize, our backend is already serving something, and it's serving something statically, which hopefully you'll get what it means, in this public folder. So this dir name variable is a variable that exists just in globally like console, and this dir name is equal to the directory path where my app is running. So this is, let's do console.log. This is dir name, just to show you. And I'm gonna run my app, my backend, one level app backend, npm start. That's my npm start, so don't get. This is dir name. Dir name is this path. But this is this is a path to my computer, right? Heroku is gonna use their own, and it's like we know that my name is not Alejandro in Heroku's machine. But so that's how this dir name allows to whatever our app is running, or wherever this app is running, just path that join, meaning grab this path. You already saw that this is a path, and join to that something that's public. So if I look at this path, I know that, okay, so it must append /public at the end. And then I can see that I do, in fact, in my backend, I have a folder called public, this one. And just for demonstrations, I want to add something here. Let's just let me add just one file, hello.txt. I'm just gonna say hello from a txt file, and then by having this file in the public folder, and because our Express is serving that statically, we're gonna see how we can get that. So I have my backend running, right? You can see it here. Now I'm gonna go to my URL. Here we're doing the locally, so I'm just gonna go to, where is that? Localhost 3100. So as I go here, I see my backend. I think I could do hello.txt, and I see my txt file. So this is what we're going to do with your app. Once your app is built, we want to have your index.html that React scripts built serve like this. So does anybody have any question about this? I know that's kind of confusing. Yeah.
So it's important that HTML file, it knows all the routes afterwards. Point out what a whole folder. That folder.
So we need to. So our app, for our app to work, we need all this stuff that's inside the build folder. For our front end app to work, we need all this stuff.
So we have to import that build file to the backend, or just the HTML file to the backend?
No, the entire folder. We're gonna ask our backend, okay, anything that's inside this build folder, just serve it statically. And I know I've been saying like serve it statically, and like let's look at what that means. So we know that path.join is joining paths, and then at the end is just gonna be one. And then let's see what express static is doing. Serving static files in Express. To serve static files such as images, CSS files, JavaScript files, use Express static built-in middleware function in Express. The function signature is Express static root. Okay, and then options, which are optional. The root argument specifies the root directory from which to serve static assets. For more information on the option argument, just look at this link. For example, use the following code to serve images, CSS files, and JavaScript files in a directory named public. Now you can load the files that are in your public directory by just doing this. So anyone, like, who's confused about this? Okay. What do you think is confusing about it?
I'm lost somewhere.
Okay. So basically our React app is no longer, we can no longer do npm start and then just run it. Our app now that is compiled, now those are just static files. They don't, like, they're not, like, they're the output of the build command.
What is static?
Static. That is a good question. See, static routing. The alternative to dynamic routing is the process of which the system network administrator. Oh, okay. Basically, static means that it's not dynamic, or it doesn't change. It's just like a file. Like it's not gonna. Yeah, I don't know if that's static.
changes, it doesn't show up right away. You don't see the error showing up on the page right away. You have to something to that change.
Not necessarily, no. Let's see what this says. So static means just like an image, for instance. Like an image is never going to change. That image, there's no way to execute it or like do anything about it. Just then serve it. Just like display that to whoever asks for it.
Say like if you're making changes to the project, then you push it to GitHub and you push it to Heroku. You have the build folders statically. So if they update as well, or have to delete the build folders and then recreate it again.
Yeah, you have to recompile your app, which will recreate the build.
So then like and start the build again, build those files.
Yeah. And we're gonna have Heroku do that for us so that we don't have to do it. Yeah. So basically, serving static is like if you wanted to like host images or save images in your backend, you could actually do that, like uploading images to your backend, and then they will be saved like in the backend folder. And you probably want them in the public because you want anyone with the URL to that image to access it. Because, well, you want to like display a profile photo, for instance. And you can do that by serving that image statically. Cool. So let's not. Basically, what you can pick up this line as just making available anything that's in the public folder to anyone who knows what's there. So this line allows me to access anything within the public folder. And then, yeah, I didn't have to do like /public/hello because it's just serving everything that's in here. And if you find something that matches my URL here, not this one, /hello txt. So, cool. So hopefully this is gonna make more sense once we run our app. So let's do that. Basically, what we need is copy this line, and then we're gonna say express serve not only what's in public but also what I have in my front end /build folder. So let's just go here, and then we know that this is the current directory. So here I could do // to go one directory up. Then I'm gonna do front end, and then I'm gonna do build. With this, I'm instructing React to also serve anything that's inside the build static folder, inside the build folder, which is in our front end. So now let's do an example. Hopefully this will come out well. Let's create a folder. Let's create a file inside build. Hello from React. Go to the txt. It says this file lives in /front end /build. Actually, this should be outside. Okay, yeah. Now that I have hello 2, if my app is set up correctly to serve this file, because it's going to serve the entire folder, I should be able to do hello txt2 and access it. So now my backend is able to serve anything that's inside the build folder. Remember that the build folder is your compiled React application. Cool. So now I could do. Now I'm just missing one more step for this to work. The step that I'm missing is express app. John, you have a question?
You really need the public folder.
If you're not using it, you could remove it if you're not using it. Okay, So let's do, the last step is first give it access to that. Well, and we need to give it access with this line or ask Express to serve those files statically, because our React app, well, our React app has, it needs the CSS, it needs the JavaScript and all those files, and we need those to be available for the app to work, right? So that's what we're accomplishing with this line. The last edit that we need to make here is after our routing, we're going to do app.use, and we're going to specify the path star, which means all the paths. Just do res that. So remember that like this is just middleware. I'm defining. You can think of as defining another route, but this is going to grab anything that's not before it. So any request, let's just define a middleware here that is going to do rest next rec. Oh, rest next. And then I'm going to do, okay, so anything that's not here or any other route, just do rest.send file. I'm going to send the file. And what file I'm going to send? I'm going to send path.join, your name, comma, and then my index HTML, the index HTML from the React app. So we have here in our front end, we can see that the build folder has something called static, and then it has this index HTML. This is the entry point for your React application. If we inspect this file, it looks really pretty. And then this is importing your JavaScript, which is your React app. This is the entry point for, yeah, David.
But would that be before the actual route, since you actually need, you go back to the.
Well, we could experiment what happens moving it out and see what happens.
Right, and then you'd be assessing users, slash users without actually having access to anyone.
Yeah, so the thing is, like our backend is gonna do two things now. Before it was just doing one. The thing that it was doing is just acting as an API with endpoints, and that you just request information. But now it's gonna do that, and on top of that, it's gonna render our React app. So what my belief is, I haven't actually tested this. If I put it on top, if I make a request to, if I make a request of slash users, my request is gonna go here because this is matching all the endpoints. Yeah. So, okay, what file do I want to send? I want to send my index HTML inside the front end. So I'm just going to go one level up to my root and front end slash index.html. So if we have set up our stuff correctly, this should work. We have to, well, like cdin is kind of like this thing that we're doing in here. This path.join, if we, oh, and like something that I would like to always say is that I don't just know this stuff. Like this is like because I've read it, and somewhere else you can find what I'm talking about here. So here I can go to the, if you have questions about like stuff, just try Googling it, right? And then Node has the documentation. And I know because if you type like Node path, it's just gonna give you this thing. And then you can see that path is a module that comes in with Node. And if I wanna know what path.join is, I could just click here, path.join. And it says, well, it says it has an argument that's optional that's called paths. And it says a sequence of path segments, and then it returns a string. And then it says path.join methods joins all given path segments together using the platform-specific separator as a delimiter, then normalizes the resulting path. This is cool because whether you're running my app on Windows or Mac or any other operating system, path.join is going to make sure that it joins the path in the platform-specific way. Which, if you have been in Windows, you can see that they don't use the regular slash; they use backslash for path. But that's not really important. So let's see if we did everything correctly, and let's try to run our. Let's see what our backend is gonna do now. Remember, I'm doing all this locally, and this is my app. It's a very simple app, but it works. So now my backend. Do you remember that previously? Like, this is the app that we have deployed to Heroku. Not this one, this one. I'm going to like the root, and then it shows me this. Now I'm going to the root URL, and I just see my actual React app, and then I can see that it works. Well, actually, I cannot do that because we haven't set up the database. So if I try to log in, this is not going to work. Should probably see some errors here. Trying to sign in, network. Well, I see errors here, for sure. And then I see an error here. Well, this is because my backend. Oh, wait, actually, I'm sorry. I don't have my my Postgres server running because I'm just gonna start that. But once that is done, I can retry. So remember, this is I'm not running two apps now. I'm only running my backend. And because I compile my front end and I set up my backend to serve my front end, now I can just run the backend and I'm just seeing my entire app. So now let's do. Well, I think that user doesn't exist, but maybe this one exists. Yes, I'm doing everything locally. Once I've done this, basically what I need to do is just push the changes to Heroku, and it should work. Cool. I forgot like one of my passwords. Oh, I know now. I'm trying to register. That user is already registered. So yeah, this is like a very simple app that logs in the user, and if it's logged in, it's going to show you this like these links. If it's not logged in, it's just going to show you. Oh, I don't have a way to log out. But the important bit is that our app it works now. Like the backend is serving the front end, and we achieve that with these lines. I'm sorry?
Do you use Redux with that?
No, this doesn't have Redux. Okay. Now what? We have like locally our backend is serving our front end, and we want to do the same thing in Heroku. So let's get down to that. And we haven't thought about yet how are we gonna do how's our database gonna live in Heroku. That's probably gonna be next if we have time. Okay, so I made these changes to my app. Let's see what the files that I changed. Git status. So I changed. I could remove the hello text. Oh, let me just remove that because those. And git status. Cool. So, okay. You may have seen in your front end. Oh, this might actually not be true. So this is my git ignore. I took it out from the front end, and I put it in my root. This is my git ignore. And oftentimes you want to ignore your build folder. You can see that this is a package JSON that came from Create React App. So here we can see that the Create React app developers, whoever wrote this .git ignore, suggesting that we shouldn't push our build folder to any source control like GitHub or Heroku. And that's generally a good idea. So I'm just gonna make sure that I am ignoring the build folder. Now if I do git status again, I can see that I no longer have that build folder. Okay. So now I see that I have changes in my app and in my git ignore. Because those are not related, I'm just gonna commit them separately. Git add, git ignore, git commit, ignore build folder, git status again. And now the changes that we did our app. So I'm gonna add that, git add everything. Status. I'm gonna commit the change that I made to my app. I'm gonna say, what did we do? Let's call that something like serve backend, serve front and build. And we also did like so we also did a send file. So let's just leave it like that. This is what we did. Now I can do a git push origin, GitHub master. I push to GitHub. Now I'm gonna push to Heroku. But actually, wait. Before we push to Heroku, before I commit it, I need to make some changes. Actually, let's just push to Heroku. So that I know that's gonna fail, and we're gonna see why. We're pushing to Heroku. We set up our backend to serve a folder called build inside the front end. The trick here is that in Heroku, we don't have a folder called build inside the front end. Do you guys recall how we created that folder? How did we end up with a build folder inside the front end? But does anyone remember, like, how was it that I got a build folder inside front end? Okay, which one? Run build in the front end, yeah. So and this is like, I'm gonna we could see that there's nothing, there's literally nothing in the, there's not such a thing as a build folder inside the front end.
So you're saying you have to run that code also as well.
And cool, so our app is deployed. Let's try to open it here again. Let's see what we get. So the first thing I see is it's taking longer than required. Okay, it still works. That's good, but we're not seeing our app, right? And that's because what I said earlier, in Heroku, we don't have a folder called build. So we need to build our app. We need to compile our React app in Heroku so that Heroku can actually see the build folder. Yeah.
If you're going to end up doing the same thing, right? Setting scripts to run that, why not just push it?
Yeah, so you could, yes, that's one way. You could, instead of ignoring your build folder, you can not ignore it and add it, and then push it to GitHub and push it to Heroku. And in that case, then the build folder will exist in Heroku, but that's just like not industry standard. Yeah. Okay. So let's get let's do this. Heroku. Let's actually verify that there's no folder called Heroku build. Heroku run bash. It spins off a one-off dyno with everything that I have pushed. And then I'm gonna do ls. I see my backend, front-end, package.json, and then I do front-end, ls, no modules, public source. I don't see a build folder. So somehow we need to perform the build process in Heroku. And we do that by, if you guys remember, by having, let me place all this out. You remember the root package.json. You remember that we had this special script that runs in Heroku. So here we just need to add one more step. cd backend, npm install everything in the backend, cd back to the front end, and then npm install everything in the front end, and lastly, npm run build. This is as soon as Heroku receives our app, this script is going to run. This script is going to install the node modules in the front and the back, and lastly, it's going to do npm run build, which will compile your app and output a build folder inside your front end folder. And because we said in app in the backend, we said, okay, Express, serve anything that's inside this folder, the front end build, and also send any request that comes to anything that's not one of these, send it to the index.html. That's gonna in turn display our app. Yeah.
Does it make multiple build folders each time you run the?
That's a good question. No, it's not. It's always going to overwrite the previous one. Okay. So we verified that no such thing exists in here. Now now we did some changes. Let's git add everything. Git commit. What did we do? Any commit message for this? Let's do post build. Got it. Git commit. Now let's push to GitHub origin master. Cool. Now once we push to GitHub, let's push to Heroku. Let's see what happens. So same thing that we had seen, but here we're going to see something else. So here right now, the Heroku is executing this command, npm backend, npm install. We see that node we are using it, well, we're not using it in deployment, but we see that it's installed. So this means that it installed the packages in the back. And let's see if we see the packages, when it's installing the packages in the front, we should see that here too. It's taking longer than I expected. There we go. Look, now it's trying to run something called React build. And if you recall, this command is in the package.json in the front end as our build script. Now we can see the same output that we saw that when we ran npm run build manually. This is the same stuff. Cool. Now it's compressing, done, 71. Cool, seems like it's good to go, no errors. Let's do Heroku open. Hopefully we should see our app. There you go. Now we have an app that we can send, like anyone we could use, just send this link to, and they will see our pretty app. So, well, we're missing a key step here, which is the database. Yeah, let's see how long we have. Okay, I think we have just about enough time. So, like, if I try to sign up a user in this app, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's open the console. See. So, cool. We have like some unauthorized. We have this other stuff. That's because this app is trying to see if the user is logged in. That's why we get these 2 errors. But let's look at the network. Let's clean it up. Let's try to sign someone in. Cool. New. This is the request I sent. I send it to this URL. I don't know if this is big enough. Send it to this URL. I got a 500 internal server error. My server crashed. That's what that means. And I have, this is the response. A message that says, oops, there was an error. And an error. So this is because, well, I know that's because we don't have a database. So this user, like, we don't know where this user is going to go, right? Because now this app lives in Heroku. It doesn't live in our computer anymore. So let's provide a database to Heroku. Actually, before we move on, let's see how the logs look here. Heroku logs tail. Cool. Let's see. This is actually useful in the sense that we can see, for instance, let's see the request. This is like a log, but we can see that, yeah, this one. This is a post request to this endpoint. It returned a 500. And right after that, we see this error. Connect this thing, this IP address. And that's about it. There's no, it doesn't say a lot, but this error is saying that, I guess you couldn't really know from the error itself, but it's saying that it cannot connect to something. That's a good hint. Yeah, that is a really good hint. That is the port where your Postgres server runs in. So, yeah, cool. So we know that that's why it's failing. And here we're gonna see our use of environment variables again. So, how do we provide Heroku app with a database? Is actually very simple as well. You just do this one I don't know by memory. You just do Heroku add-ons. You can add add-ons. And you want to add a Heroku PostgreSQL with this plan, hobby dev, which is going to give you 10,000 rows. And the A is for specifying, okay, what app do you want to deploy this database for? So let's do that. This one, this hobby dev is going to be the plan. So when you register it, you probably register, or I think the default plan that Heroku gives you is the hobby dev plan, which is, you know, like you have a bunch of stuff for free. There are other plans. If your app has more traffic, then you need to serve that traffic, and those are going to be paid. So this hobby dev is just so that gives us a free Postgres database. Okay, so let's just run this. Cool, let's kill this. Heroku add-ons create Heroku-PostgreSQL hobby dev. Heroku PostgreSQL colon hobby. And there is a, so if I run it here without specifying an app, because I'm inside my folder of my app, it's just gonna know what app is gonna be for. But if you wanna make sure, you can do A and then the name of your app. And the name of our app is, let's remember, Heroku apps. It's this one, Infinite Brook. You may only have one because this is your first time doing this. So we're gonna be sure. So I will run this command. And I'm gonna specify the name of the app. Oh.
So these are the apps that are doing on your Heroku.
Yes, these are the apps that are in my account. You only have one for now.
If you don't specify what's in your phone.
Yeah, and then because I'm inside a folder that has like that I did Heroku create in, it knows, it's gonna know automatically if I don't specify, but let's just make sure. So, and then let me copy this. Yeah, that's like it's actually like a raffle app that I built for somebody.
Call it URL, that page URL. What you call it, like, we don't.
Wait, Johnny, yeah.
So copy that dash page and the URL is the website.
No, this is not the URL. This is the name of my app in Heroku. This part?
What's that name?
This is the name that Heroku gave me for my app.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you chose your own name and that name was available, then here you will use your name, your app name. Somebody else, Andres, yeah.
You don't have to put in those tags that the documentation says?
Oh, that's a good point. No, this oftentimes is so that you replace it. Yeah. Okay, now I see this output, creating Heroku Postgres Hobby Dev on my app for free. The database has been created and is available. This database is empty. If upgrading, you can transfer data from another database with PG copy created. So created Postgres-deep 5024/7 as database URL. So basically, this is the database that Heroku is giving me. And then to this database, then I can add data. Now, so Heroku doesn't give me a database server. It gives me a database. So like the way that we've been doing this, in your computers, you have a Postgres server running. And in that Postgres server, you can have as many databases as your computer has capacity for. But in Heroku, you don't get a database service. You only get one database. And because of that, then we need to do some changes to our .SQL file. But first, let me show you the database itself. Let's run this. So we're gonna do this to seed our database, but here I can literally type anything. So I'm just gonna do this command. So let's do, this is the same as pSQL. So if I do pSQL in my terminal, I get onto the database server. I can list my databases with L. These are my databases. And then I can connect to my database with C, game on, for instance. And then I can list the tables with T. No. Yes, these are my local databases. And I'm in pSQL. What I want to show you is that, like, I connected to my database game on, and I want to show you the tables. I don't remember how to get the tables, so you could do / exclamation mark. And then here I'm going to look for tables. Cool. So the pattern, or like what I need to execute, is \d. So I do \d, and these are my tables inside this database. cool, but I don't want to do this on my local. I want to see the database that Heroku gave me. So I'm just going to quit from here. Q. And I'm going to do echo, because this I want to send this command to the database in Heroku. I'm going to do -L. I'm going to do that. This is to list all the databases, and hopefully we'll have some fun with this. Echo, and then I'm going to pipe that to Heroku. Let me just see again. PG PSQL. PG PSQL. See? Okay. It said invalid command, but it said connecting to this thing, right? So this is if you remember, this /L is listing all the databases, but Heroku only gives me one, so I cannot see all the other databases. What I could do is probably, hopefully, pass D and see if we have any tables. Okay, so this is not working. Let's try to do, I would expect to see the tables at least, or at least saying that there is no tables at all. Let's try to do select start from users. See what it gives us. Well, at least now it says relation users does not exist. So for some reason, I cannot list the tables in that database. I should have tried this before actually showing you. Let's just do one more time. Oh, cool. At least now it says no relations found. There is no tables in this database. Yeah, David.
Can you explain the command? I thought echoes might come, and also the automatic SQL database that you get from.
Yeah. So when I run this command, this one Heroku add-ons create Heroku Postgres, all this thing. Heroku created a database for me, and he gave me access to it. And he called it this. And this is important, that created that name of the database as database URL, and this is all capital, which is suggesting this is going to be an environment variable. So, okay, so once I ran this command, Heroku gave me a database. Now I can interact with it if I do something like this, echo stuff. So what this is doing is, it's gonna, if you do echo, it's just like kind of the console log for your computer. Hello there. I'm just gonna echo it back. So what I'm saying here, okay, whatever echo returns, pass it down with the pipe, pass it down to Heroku, to this other program, Heroku PG PSQL. So I'm saying, okay, whatever this returns, just pass it to this other thing.
And that's the default one that was created. That was given nothing.
Yes, with this command, I can access my database. Let's see what this gives us. Oh, sweet. This was even easier. Now, I literally connected to the database. You see, this is not very different from running PSQL here. See, now I have like the name of the database, and I could do the no relations. I could try to do L. Oh, look at this. So do you remember that /L is to list all the databases in your system? I do /L, and I'm actually able to see other people's databases within like this within this database server. But the fact that I'm able to see doesn't mean that I'm able to access them. So let's do like this is like a lot to visualize, but you see like the name, this is the name of a database and this is the owner, but that's like encrypted the same way you're hashing passwords. So I don't really know who the owner is. And if I try to connect to one of these, it's like this one, I'm gonna do connect to that database. The user does not have connect privilege. That database is not mine. And the Postgres server is not gonna let me access it. Okay. So we now know that we have a Postgres database in Heroku. And you remember that I said, like, oh, this capital thing that gives us here suggests that it's going to make the URL for this database available to our app as an environment variable. So let's quit this. And now let's do this again. Heroku run crash. And let's see if we have a database URL in our environment that we could then access the same way that we access our port. So I'm going to do print env. And I see this database URL. This was not here before. It's kind of, well, I kind of go back to show you like how it was before, but we didn't have a database URL in our environment. And then here we can see this URL. It looks very similar to the one you're using to connect to your databases. Like, look how similar they look. If I go to, so I have this folder called DB, and DB has a index. This is where I'm connecting to my database, right? This is my URL to my local database, or like this is a URL to my local database. It's using the Postgres protocol and it's going to this URL. This one is using the Postgres protocol and this is the URL. So this is a database, and this database is by here. You can see that it's running on Amazon Web Services. So this database doesn't even exist in Heroku. It's just connected to Heroku, and Heroku deploys this on AWS. But this is the URL that we need to give our app so that our app can like create tables. Well, our app is not going to create tables, but add information to those tables. So how do we grab this database URL from the environment? The same way that we did before. So let me quit this. We go in here, and then instead of this hard-coded URL here, I'm just going to remove it.
You do it, or well, we did like
That's good thinking. So that we can run our app locally if we want to, and have that same app like deployed to Heroku without anything crashing. What we could do is exactly what Davey and Jonathan said, which is do an OR. So you could do process.env. Remember, this is how you access your environment variables. We know that is database URL, or in case it doesn't find it, meaning we're doing our development locally, we could do this. Now, it's going to try to grab it from the environment. If it's not there, it gives our default. This is one good way. Another way will be to actually have ourselves a database URL in our environment that in our local computer equals to this Postgres, to this URL. And then when we deploy, we just like know that it's still gonna grab the URL from the environment. So, but let's not get into that right now. Let's just see if this works. Oh wait, okay. So we fixed this. So now it's gonna. Actually, let's do that. We fixed that. So let's do git status. Also, we edited that file. Git add everything or all. Git commit good commit message for this. What did we change? It push Heroku, Heroku, GitHub first, master. Pushes to Heroku, to GitHub, push Heroku master. So these steps repeats. This is rebuilding. This is executing Heroku post build, the script that we have specified in here. No, not here. This one. So this is running all this again. It's installing the node modules again for the back and the front, and it's gonna run npm run build again. And well, we want that because if we edited something in the front end and we want to deploy those changes, we in fact do need to run npm run build again so that those changes take place. So while this is doing its thing, I'm going to tell you beforehand that once I open my app and I try to register a user, it's still going to fail because my Heroku database doesn't have any tables. So do you remember, like, you see your database with a .sql file? That SQL file is going to create the database, which we're not going to need in Heroku, but it's also going to create the tables, and it's probably going to insert some sample data. Some of you are like inserting sample data in the .sql. So let me just for demonstration, let's see Heroku Heroku PSQL. Let's see, we're connected to our database. We don't have any tables. We don't have any tables. So let's just quit from here again. I do Heroku open, launches my app. I'm going to open the terminal. I'm going to do the network, clean this up. I'm going to try to sign someone in. Let's go back to the network tab, sign up. Still 500. Cool, but now we should see a different error once we look at the errors in Heroku logs. Because now we think our connect is correct. And I think it's correct. Let's see, Heroku logs tail. Okay, let's see what we have here. Oh, we have a different error, right? Now we see, let's see the request first. Like, let's see, where does it say /new /user/new? We should see that somewhere. We see this one user is logged in. Oh, maybe path. So we see this one next, path, this one. Path /user/new, it returned a 500. And we see, okay, this is the end of the logs. There's nothing else. But right before that, we see this error that starts here. Error, relation users does not exist. And relations is another word for table. So this is telling us that, yes, you have a database. I was able to connect to it. But when I try to look for a users table to put that user that you're trying to register, I don't see a users table. Now let's actually see our database then, our Heroku database one. For doing that, just Control-C out of here. We are going to we're going to use our .sql file, and then if we go to backend db seed.SQL, we see this very simple SQL file. It just creates one. Well, it drops a database if it exists. It creates the database. It connects to the database. it creates a users table. So because what I've been saying, Heroku doesn't give us a database server. It just gives us a database already. So we can skip this. Oh, wait. And skip this, this, and this. This is commenting in SQL. Yes, because again, Heroku doesn't give you a database server. Heroku gives you a database already created. You don't have to create any, you don't have to connect to it. You just need to create the tables.
So when we're doing this, all that stuff that we have like above, like our table start.
Yep.
Comment it out.
Comment it out. That's one way, or we could just get rid of it. But this one is like one of those. So
When you say insert, you have to create the tables, right?
yeah, create a
And then
table.
also do the insert as well?
Yeah, if I want to insert anything in this table with this SQL file, I can do that too. Like,
You create the data file, and then SQL and tables as well, and then you have a C file inserts into.
so now you need to, that seed file that I've seen some of you use, like it's just a JavaScript program that is gonna add random data to your database. You need to make sure that that is, so you need to make sure that that program is connecting to a database, right? To your local database. You now need to make sure that instead of your local database, it connects to the Heroku one. Just the, not even the path, the URL, because now that database exists in, well, Amazon servers. So we could look at those cases individually. The same way you type PSQL and then it just knows to what database server connect, you could connect to a remote database the same way, just specifying the URL and some other stuff. Okay, so we don't need this for our database in Heroku because again, they don't give us a Postgres server. They just give us a database already with a name. We don't even like decide the name that we give. And inside that database, we just want to create a table. And if you're inserting information, I could do like insert here. I don't even want to go into that because I don't remember the exact syntax. But let's at least create this table in our yeah.
You said that's great. Let's say I already have those values there. It's still going to push it through.
Yes, they're going to be executed in your Heroku database.
Okay.
So for doing that, what we do is, so you remember that I was doing echo select R from users, and I was doing this. So what I have in echo is just SQL commands. SQL like, and then what I can do is I could do cat. So let's do what like cat just outputs something to standard output. So like if I do cat package JSON, it just prints the package JSON. So I could do cat backend. I'm already in the backend. DB, I think DB. What's the seed? Then I'm outputting this to my terminal, but instead of printing that to my terminal, I want to send it to Heroku PG PSQL. I'm piping the output of cat. I'm piping it to this other thing.
Cat shows like, so you use cat to write the command.
Cat is reading my .SQL file.
Oh, just reading what's in it.
Yeah, and it's gonna read it, and then pipe what it read, pipe it to this other thing.
What does that do? It shows what's been read and it's sending it to the program.
Yeah. So what I could do this. Cat.
Just seeing the database, right? But the way to do it on Heroku.
This is the way to see the database on Heroku. Yes. Yeah.
Now, okay, so now when you sign in, it creates a user on that table, which is go.
Yes, hopefully, because now it's going to have a user table. If we execute this command and this command goes well, Andres?
In my case, I'm not getting any file existing in the directory. Would I have to go before DB and put in like the backend?
Yeah, here you need to specify the path to your .sql file. Depending on where you are, this might be a different path for you. This might be a different name for you. So let's read whatever we have in this file and pipe that to Heroku pgpsql. And let's hit enter. Connecting to the database. This is a create table. So now it connected to this database. So this is, well, you see it like Heroku connects automatically to that database because it knows that we were given one. That's why we don't need this step anymore. Cool. So it says that it created a table very similar to what you see when you create a table locally. And we could see if it actually did that if we do Heroku pgpsql. And then we're in our database, and then we can list our tables with B. And boom, we have a users table now. And oh, look, this is my name. I'm the owner of that database. So now I could do select. I don't know if I have something here. Select star from users. Have 0 rows.
Oh, so after you see the file, are you able to use regular?
Yeah, this is not different from PSQL when you're running locally.
Fine. Okay, sorry.
What line? This one.
Yeah.
This is how you see this is how you execute the .sql file in your remote Heroku database. Okay, now that we have a database, hopefully we can create a user. Let's try. Let's refresh this. You see this, like I didn't need to git add, git commit because these changes are not like this one is like a tricky one. I don't have to, well, I should git add and git commit because I changed my git status. I changed my SQL file, but because I'm executing this file like from my computer to the database in Heroku, I don't really need to git push, git add, and any of that. But actually now my app is still not going to work because actually no, I think it's going to work because we connected to that database already. Now that database has a table, so it's going to work now. Let's try again. Let's refresh this page. Let's clean up the network console. Try to register this guy. $200, that's good. Registration successful. And then after that, we made a login request. And that's it, basically. Now, there is a user in that users table with this username. And if you are skeptical, let's go here. And let's do select star from users. We see our user. Andres?
So, my app deployed has shown users, and then you can add a user. Go and try to add a user. It takes me directly to my backend page, just a list of all users with the user added, instead of how you, when you click on submit, refresh.
So you're saying that you have a list of users and you can add a user?
Yeah, separate button. It's shown in the heading.
Okay.
And then I can add a user.
Like you have a form where you can add a user?
Yeah. And then I'll add
Yeah.
instead of refresh the page, click back and it shows all the users. And then it'll show that new user that was added.
So that probably means that you have a problem with the backend routing. It could also be that, are you preventing default in the form? Like, did your URL change it? Like, does the URL changes when you hit submit when you're creating that user? So I know this was like kind of long. So hopefully you guys got an overview of what we did here. You can follow these the steps in the notes, and you can also just watch the video again, or just come to us if you have any problems. I think the goal was just like, well, I should have had like a list of like all the steps that we perform, like a very general, with a very general description, so that you can have it as a reference. But yeah, I hope that you guys saw like how we went from our apps not being connected at all to actually just one in Express.
I think it was helpful that every time you did something, I was asking
That's cool. That's cool. Okay, let me sign out of here. So, any questions on this? The notes are, I'm going to share them in this Slack.
So,